Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be continuing watching the Bad Weapon Academy. This is once again by Fish Stick on a Stick Gaming, and this one revolves around the Buffalo Steak Sandvich. I cannot wait to watch it, man. This series has been so good. It has been really, really awesome, and I've enjoyed every one of them so far. So thank you so much to everybody that's been liking and commenting on these recent videos. I really, really appreciate the support. And with that being said, if you're new, do not forget that sub button, please, and thank you. And let's go ahead and jump into it.
Oh,
what's up?
Take that!
Too slow.
Help me! Ah!
Nice hustle, tons of fun. Next time, eat a steak dinner.
Very well. Nom, 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 nom. Kill them all! Ha ha ha!
Are you freaking kidding me?
I have plans for you.
It's happening.
I've
Oh, God,
done
it's
it
happening.
for you.
Oh, crap. I'm dead.
That was awesome.
Welcome to Bad Weapon Academy, where we take a look at the worst weapons TF2 has to offer, and I show you how to best utilize them.
Nice.
The Sandvich is probably the single most iconic item in the entire game. It's even the only weapon to get its own official Meet the Team video. Imagine if every unlock got one of those. That'd be
Which was so good. I loved it, man. I loved it. The whole
well,
Meet the
if
Team
its
playlist
cousin,
was so
the Buffalo
good.
Steak Sandvich got one of those, it would show the heavy eating it, running into a gunfight with his fists out, and then dying horribly. I'm honestly not sure what they were even thinking with this thing. The other lunchbox items are just so much better. The Sandvich tops off your health and supports your team. It's incredibly useful since Heavy is such a damage sponge and easy target. The chocolate bar / fish cake gives you a small amount of health on top of increasing your base health for a short time. It lacks the support utility of the Sandvich, but it makes your pushes a lot stronger. And the banana is great for lone heavies without a pocket medic, as it gets you to almost full health very quickly. Meanwhile, with the Buffalo Steak, I honestly wouldn't blame you for using a shotgun over it. How did it get this bad? Well, let's find out. The Buffalo Steak Sandvich, upon being eaten, has several effects. For starters, it increases your base movement speed by 30%. This puts you at about 100% walking speed. The same as classes like Engineer, Pyro, and Sniper. And you can increase this even further with the Gloves of Running Urgently or the Eviction Notice, which makes you just a bit slower than a medic. Offensively and defensively, this isn't all that great. It's not fast enough to catch up to a lot of classes even if they just backpedal away, during which point they'll just shoot your ass, and it takes too long to eat the thing to use it as an escape tool, unlike something like the Escape Plan, Overdose, or on a front closer to home, the Grue. It also gives you guaranteed mini crits, but locks you to only using your melee weapon. For Heavy, this is not good at all. Despite his awesome hulking bulk, Heavy's melee attacks do the same as most other classes, and with speed that's only enough to overtake the slower, bulkier classes that are gonna take more hits to begin with, he needs a lot more than just mini crits if he wants to get some kills. You don't get any—
I didn't know that his melee is about the same as... I honestly thought his melee would be a little more.
Benefit against light classes, who you likely won't be able to catch in the first place, since they die in 2 hits anyway, and even then, the one light class you might stand a chance against, since they're more than willing to get up in your face, can pull off this shit. And while you can 2-shot medics, pyros, and demos, going against the pyro with your melee tends to go poorly, as any demo knight can tell you, and it goes worse when you have no gap closer in the form of a charge and no fire resistance. Speaking of resistance, the worst stat of all, even though Demo Knight gets resistances to fire and explosives, as otherwise they'd get trashed constantly for running at people with their melee all the time, even more than the average Demo Knight already does, not only do you get no resistances, you actually take 20% more damage from all sources. And this stat isn't even listed on the weapon description. This is one of the most devastating stats of any item in the game, and it doesn't even make sense because resistances are something they accounted for with Demo Knight, but they decided Heavy just shouldn't have them for some reason, even though he lacks many of Demo Knight's benefits. All of these aforementioned effects last for 16 seconds, and during this period of time, you can't switch to your primary, you can't switch back to the Steak Sandvich if you manage to grab a health kit while you're at full health, and you can't just prematurely cancel the effect, you have to ride it out. Finally, you can still throw it and it'll drop a medium health kit like the regular sandwich does. This item is just so confused. It seems to me like it should be something like Doom's Berserk power-up.
Yeah. Yeah, just make you like super powerful. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Where you become absolutely terrifying at close range,
Yeah.
but the speed just isn't high enough to catch up to anyone you can reasonably kill unless they have no idea you're there to begin with. The damage isn't good enough to make yourself a credible threat, and while the game is simultaneously incentivizing you to run into danger with these middling benefits, it also harshly punishes you for doing so by crippling your health just for using it. You'd think it would have some kind of effect like the chocolate bar, if anything, where it gives you a small health boost, or just some kind of resistance at all, but no. This is like the Claymore, but so much worse. Because while the
Man.
Claymore offers you great mobility, can reliably close the distance, is paired with a set of items that gives the demo using it resistances that can offset the weakness, and can reliably one-shot several classes, the Steak Sandvich has all the drawbacks of lower effective health with pretty much none of the benefits. So what's the deal? Do we pack it in already and call it quits? There's no hope for this thing? Well, hold your horses, or your buffalo. We can still get some use out of this thing yet. Let's take a look at the first stat we mentioned, the speed boost. Not so great for closing the distance on your enemies, right? Wrong! Well,
Wrong.
kind of. What it's really good for is closing the distance on the front lines. Using the stake at the start of a round can give you the edge needed to get to the point in a reasonable amount of time without handicapping your health the way you would with the GRU or eviction notice. What it lacks in a
Okay.
speedy deployment, it makes up for in freeing up your melee slot for something like the Fists of Steel, which are an incredibly powerful defensive utility. And once you get to the front lines, you don't have to worry about not being able to support your medic or other injured teammates because it'll still heal them. And in many cases, this will be far more useful than its intended purpose. In fact, since you get the same effect of the sandwich where picking up any health kit while at full health refills your sandwich meter, you can actually give your teammates a net gain of health by taking a small health kit and giving them a medium-sized one. Or of course, if you don't feel like actually being effective, you can use this weapon for its completely stupid intended purpose with the weapon that has the best synergy with the stake, the killing gloves of boxing. But before we do that, it's worth taking a look at Heavy's other melee options, mostly to tell you why you don't want to use them. While the speed boost you get with the eviction notice on a hit is really nice and it's great for closing the distance and staying on an enemy, the drastically lower damage and draining health for an entire 16 seconds means you won't be getting many kills this way. It's an option for when you
Dang.
want to do your best Star Platinum impression and nothing more. It's a similar story for the GRU, but the GRU have the benefit of stacking the speed boost you get a lot more, which can slightly enhance your rollout if you're willing to let your health drain for those 16 seconds. If you really want to stack effects, try this shit with the Warrior Spirit and see how fast your health drains with an additional, multiplicative, 30% damage vulnerability. Why are these weapons in the same
Dang.
set together? Shit man, why are these weapons in the same set as the Brass Beast? This is meant to be a set of weapons working in tandem together. And not only are they all among the worst options for their slot, but they have little to no synergy with each other. Now, the Warrior Spirit can sometimes work for you if you're extra sneaky, but the benefits just aren't worth it compared to the KGB. The Fist of Steel can work decently to offset your damage vulnerability against ranged options, but you get shredded by melee even worse than normal. And when you're locked into melee range, that's not a pretty picture. It's best used if you're only using the stake to get yourself to the front lines quickly and feed your medic, so you can use the Fist of Steel for their normal defensive utility without needing to be locked into them. The Holiday Punch is just the stock fists, but when you backstab people, you tickle them. It can work with the
You
sneaky
tickle them.
heavy playstyle that this weapon encourages, but the stake doesn't add too much to this strategy outside of closing the distance and letting you flank easier. The stock fists are absolutely worthless, but with the Apoco fists you can pretend you're playing a worse version of Doom by having your enemies turn into fleshy chunks of goo when you kill them. That's something at least. Anyways, on to the only melee worth using with this thing. Now, when you use the KGB, you need to be stealthy, because if you're aggressive with this thing in the wrong way at the wrong time, people will be able to use the incredibly powerful ability of walking backwards and holding down the fire button to completely zone you out.
Like literally just playing the game, just walking away from you. It's just super easy, it seems, when these are equipped.
You almost need to become a heavy spy. For Heavy, this is really not very easy at all because he's a large target, his primary is loud, and he's slow as balls. Well, this is where the speed boost comes in handy. It lets you utilize the map's flank routes much easier at the cost of survivability if you get caught out. Try to use infrequently used areas of maps or drop down from unexpected places to catch your targets off guard. Once you've successfully flanked, then this is where the fun begins. The speed boost makes catching up to unaware enemies who are backing up into you trivial, and if you're lucky enough to have an injured enemy retreat into you, you can potentially take them out in a single punch to give yourself several seconds of guaranteed melee crits. And when that happens, it could be magical. And not only the picks, but the absolute sprees you can go on. God damn, this thing doesn't always work, but when it does, oh, it fucking works. Where did the other team go? And if your timing is really good, you can even use your KGB crits with your primary once the Steak Sandvich effect runs out, which is admittedly difficult to tell as there's no visible meter letting you know when it's running out or audio cue like with the Scout Strengths. For this reason, I highly recommend using a Tomislav with this set, as the quick spin up means you'll be able to make the most out of your crits. The one place this isn't an option is the one place where you'll probably find the most success with this loadout: medieval mode. Being able to two-shot demos, pyros, and medics comes in a lot more useful when demos can't zone you out with their 12 100 damage explosives they get before needing to reload, pyros can't right-click and ruin your entire life, and medics don't have the blatantly overpowered syringe guns. And considering demo is so common in medieval mode because of Demo Night, and thanks to the small health kits dropped on kills essentially acting as a free heal on kill, the rampages you can go on really make you feel like a monster. However, that damage vulnerability still applies, and considering how common the huntsmen and annoying trick-stabbing spies are in medieval mode, your level of fun may vary. And really, that's the whole story with this weapon. It's incredibly inconsistent. Sometimes you get to go on this absolutely sick tear where you're ripping and tearing through the enemy team and there's nothing they can do, and other times you're 2-8 with all of those kills being on your Tomislav and you're wondering what you're doing with your life. So, what do we do? This is an interesting case because this is actually a weapon that's banned in many 6v6 leagues.
Really?
Because the speed boost allows heavies to easily get to the front lines quickly, which slows down games. So it's a tough call because, on the one hand, the speed boost is the strongest part of this thing since it lets you get to the front lines quickly. But in combat, it's just not enough to get you to your enemies. So, here's my pitch. I have a lot of suggestions I'm about to make here, so if this ends up sounding too strong, you can pick and choose which ones you like. For starters, reduce the default length of the buff. This means that heavies getting to the front lines with the stake take about as long to get there at full health as Gru heavies, which I think is fair for competitive players. And you're marked for death after the effect wears off, like the Criticola, and the effect now has a meter showing you how much of the buff remains. But those are pretty significant nerfs for its intended purpose, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's where my big list of buffs comes in. 1. Increase the speed boost to 50% and
that first one right there is incredible. Yeah, if you could get that speed bump like to 50%, dude, that would just be incredible.
Instead of 30%, so you can close the distance on your enemies easier.
Yeah.
2.
Because that seems to be the worst thing about this is that they can literally just turn around and walk backwards and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Increase your melee attack speed while the effect is active. 3. Give yourself an eviction notice style speed boost when you hit an enemy. 4. Every kill you get replenishes 50 health. 5. Every kill you get increases the length of the buff. 6. You eat it faster than the sandwich. And 7. Replace the damage vulnerability with a damage resistance and a knockback resistance.
Okay, yeah, with all of this, I could see it being much, much better than the current state.
Giving it a unique sound effect where the heavy is ravenously chewing through it would help let the enemies know that some shit is about to go down.
True,
the way
yeah.
I see it, if you're gonna lock the strongest close-range damage class in the game into using his melee, then it had better be fucking terrifying enough to justify giving up his minigun. Not to mention, the sandwich is still such a powerful tool that even with all these buffs dramatically changing the playstyle, I still don't see that many people dropping the sandwich for it. The rampages you can go on with this and the KGB are without question the most fun part about it, but the fact that you need to play like a spy severely limits you because Heavy just isn't a flanker. This weapon forces Heavy far out of his comfort zone in more ways than one, and the benefits just aren't worth the trouble even if you have a dedicated pocket medic and whip soldier. And that's frustrating because Heavy is my least played class specifically because of the way he plays. And giving him something new that's fun, even if it's kind of dumb, would do a lot to fix that for me. And I'd love for the steak to be good enough to rival the sandwich. But until that happens, go out there and politely yet firmly ask people who enjoy their steak well done to leave, and tell them Fish sent ya.
Oh. Okay, that is cool. Oh, man. Okay, dude, like, the end of his videos are, like, they're just getting so much better. The quality's getting better and better as they go on, it seems. All right. Okay, dudes, that was the Bad Weapon Academy once again by Fish Stick on a Stick Gaming, and that was about the Buffalo Steak Sandwich. That was awesome, man. Yeah, it doesn't look like that great of an item to use, but if they could apply the buffs that he was talking about at the end, I think it would be much better than the current state that it's in. But it was still an awesome video. I really enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this reaction, do not forget to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel here. If there's anything else you want to see me react to, you're more than welcome to comment down below, and I'll be sure to put it on the list to make. So that's all I got for you. I will see you in the next video. And do not forget, man, it's Orc Army for life.